Rocks here, and hope you're having a great day. I'm just sitting back, relaxing, just enjoying the day, watching the Astros game. Already gave up a leadoff home run. That's nice. The Cubs are already winning. But today in the wrestling world, we were dropped with a pipe bomb. I would say definitely a pipe bomb because it really does compare to CM Punk's Art of Wrestling podcast. You know, when he left the company, it really I could see a lot of similarities with it. It was kind of strange. Because it's two wrestlers that I really, really like, and it's really upsetting, honestly, as a wrestling fan, to see how much they hated the company, really. So today, Talk to Jericho. Chris Jericho released a new episode on his podcast, of course. It was entitled "The Emancipation of Jon Moxley." So basically, Jon Moxley breaking free, getting away from Dean Ambrose in the WWE, in his tell all his side of the story, his narrative of what led to him leaving the WWE in a really shocking fashion, in very weird fashion, honestly, especially with how the WWE. Basically, I listened to it today. I didn't even know it was happening. It was released. I saw it on Twitter. Everyone's talking about it, and I was really excited to listen to it. Going into it, I didn't think he was going to be, calling out WWE. I didn't think he was going to be ripping him to shreds, and he really did in this, but not in a bitter way. He didn't come off in an annoying way, being, just whining about everything. He had very, very good reasons about it, but I didn't know what to expect going into it. And so, and I really like Dean Ambrose, and he's I don't know him personally, so I can't obviously say this, but it seemed antisocial with social media, very kept quiet himself, never tweeting stuff, even if he hated it. That's what I really like about him. He's not whining about, to the public, to social media, to, everyone saying, oh, look at me, feel bad for me. He pushed through a lot of crap. And that's what I really, really respect about him, honestly, because you got people in WWE right now. I'm not saying because they deserve better, like Mike Bennett and Maria. I think Maria tweeted like a few days ago, our contracts are expiring or something like that. Like, there's a lot of wrestlers now that are tweeting that, like Luke Harper and such. I'm not saying they're complaining. I'm not saying that they don't deserve better. I think they all obviously deserve better. But this is, Dean Ambrose just kept to himself and took the crap and just went with it and said, things are gonna get better, and picked himself up, dusted himself off, and tried to make the best out of everything. Everything that was given to him. I think that really spoke through his promos, his matches, and I really respect that of him. So this kind of gonna be a recap. I should have taken notes when I was listening to this, but honestly, I didn't know I was gonna make a video. I haven't made a video in a really long time, but this, I really, really did want to talk about this because I really fallen back with wrestling. I haven't enjoyed it as much as I used to. I honestly am very frustrated with it at the moment, but I really want to talk about this. So it starts off with him basically saying how grateful he is for the WWE, and I tweeted this. I tweeted how much I respected of him, admired him, because he put up with such garbage. If you listen to this podcast, you'll know the creative process is literally kind of what all the fans thought it was, a complete mess. No one promos are being rewritten times, and just scripts are being handed to wrestlers. And he basically brings up the idea, if you want me to read from a script to do my promo, hire an actor. And that's what they should do. You bring in guys that are specifically brilliant at promos, guys like Dean Ambrose and people like that, and you're going to write them a script. I just don't understand that. That's like in baseball, when you have a major league catcher, he's going to flash the signs to the pitcher on what to throw. If a manager is telling the catcher what specific pitch to throw and stuff, that's just ridiculous. You have a major league catcher. He should be able to call the game. He should be able to say, what pitch we should throw next, the team should throw next. You got this great wrestler that can do amazing promos, tell amazing stories through his words, and you're going to write him a script with these goofy words, and I'll get into that. But he starts off super grateful for it, and I really respect that, because there's so many celebrities and people that are made because of like a certain movie they do or something, and then they become like pissed off about it and ungrateful about it, when that's the very reason why they are successful. Dean Ambrose, I think, knows the WWE is why he is so big, why AEW wants him so much, because he was such a great wrestling, and that's probably why he was signed to a big contract for AEW. But he's grateful for all the success, and basically he said if nothing comes out of this, if everything in WWE was a complete waste, he found Renee Young, the love of his life, and that's awesome. That's exactly what you kind of want to hear from someone. And that's good. I mean, even if in a terrible situation, you should try to look for the positives. And I'm glad that he's able to do that. I'm glad that he has, Renee Young, and they're together. Love is in the air. Fantastic. I'm really happy for him, honestly. Doesn't seem bitter at all. Kept to himself, like I said, didn't whine about it on social media and such. I got notes. Look at me. I'm so official. But yeah, kept to himself, didn't whine on social media, didn't come off bitter at all. I don't think the CM Punk podcast comes off bitter at all. One thing that I wish Jericho would do as asking questions and such and interviewing someone, kind of that Cabana did with the CM Punk one. Cabana, what I liked about that podcast specifically is he played devil's advocate and went like the side of WWE. He went against Punk just to get the conversation going. How is CM Punk going with his mindset, and then kind of playing along with what WWE's thinking, what the other side of Punk's story was. Jericho just kind of sided with Ambrose every time. I'm not saying Ambrose was wrong at all, but I'm just saying I would like him to come from like Vince's side and stuff. I know it's very wacky to come from Vince's side, but that's what I thought Cabana did really well. It's not a negative thing, honestly, but I just think it would make the interview a little better, I guess, just because you'd be able to hear from different sides and what was going through his mind and how he would react. I don't know. That's just me, though. But he basically tells two stories. He starts it off with two stories and then kind of goes in the narrative. But basically, 6 years, he sounds like he hated WWE. And it was crazy to me that it was 6 years. I honestly did not think it was that long that he hated it, really. But the two stories are, the first one is him running around in the writing team, he had like 6 promos the entire night. It was, I think, when he was being the heel against Seth Rollins, and he was being like saying the fans are trash and disgusting vermin, coming out with like gas mask stuff. But he did a bunch of stuff that wasn't pre-taped. Should have all been pre-taped, honestly. But it was backstage segments. Then I think it led to a brawl at the very end. But like 6 promos, he had to run around, and because they wanted him to say some pooper scooper line that Vince McMahon probably thought was just brilliant of a line, which is ridiculous. And so that story, I believe, was the one where he said he started counting down the days to see when his contract would be up, because he's running around. The creative process sounds terrible. He goes on many times saying how awful it is and how they need to change it, which sounds like it. I don't like that idea either. I think having writers is important. If you have like a guy like Jimmy Jacobs that knows what he's doing and stuff like that, like those kind of writers, the wrestling writers, then yes, maybe even the TV writers, just because it is a TV show. You got to keep storylines going. Maybe TV writers are better at doing that than, like a wrestling writer realizing, oh, we have to do something every week. But I don't like the idea of an entire script being written for an entire promo. Like maybe a writer's like, hey, we're doing the story points, but it's up to you how you hit them. But if you want to be that specific about it, just say, here's the main themes, and then just go off with it. You do the rest. I think if it's going to be scripted like that, if it just has to be, let's just say it has to be, to continue an entire story, I say put 2-3 big bullet points, say to the wrestler, hey, try to hit these lines if we have to do it, and then have the wrestler just get to that by themselves. If you think the wrestlers care about promos, then yeah, maybe the script's better. For a guy like, let's say, like Braun Strowman or Bobby Lashley, that's like really intimidating and doesn't need lines, doesn't need like a whole monologue, give him a few one-liners. But a guy like Dean Ambrose, come on. I think the guy knows exactly what he's doing. I think he knows how to tell a story and get to the point. I hate that idea of writers doing that. I think that's really, really annoying. But basically, that was the first story. Running around, fixing lines, going to Vince, and Vince saying, no, this is great. You think the people are disgusting. It's just like your character, which it's him repeating everything. And I remember during that time, every week was the same thing, disgusting vermin. And that was it. It does not tell a story. You can wrap it up in like 10 seconds and be like, oh, he doesn't like the people. We get that. Move on. But every week was the same thing, coming out in gas mask and stuff. It was so stupid. And then there was a line where Ambrose about using it as heat to say something against Roman Reigns' cancer. So he didn't want to do it. And then he goes to Vince's office, and Vince like does the Jedi mind trick. That's how he says it, of like kind of like going along with your character, saying, no, this isn't being rude. This is how your character would do it. So like coming out of the meeting, Dean Ambrose is like, okay, it's for my character. But then he says, once he said the cancer line, As soon as he said it, as soon as it left his mouth, he knew that was a terrible idea. And apparently, he says later on that some writer wrote a cancer line to go against Roman Reigns to draw heat. And he said he wouldn't even say it on the podcast because he said it was so disgusting, and he had them take it out. And he thought it would lose the sponsors. And he thought, it was this horrible, horrible line. I honestly don't want to hear what the line is because I think I mean, you're WWE. If you need to use someone's death as like this, a real death or a real actual illness, because WWE's done that a lot with people's deaths in real life, using that to draw heat with like Eddie Guerrero and such. That is so sad. Like, that's like, you're a terrible writer if that's the only way you can come up with something like really dark. Like, in all honesty, a real death. I think that's so just stupid. And the whole cancer storyline with Roman Reigns, I thought, yeah, that was like, come on. Yeah, not the storyline. Obviously, it was a real issue, but them using that as heat, I think you're a terrible writer if you need that. Like, in all honesty, it's pretty disgusting. And he wouldn't even say what the line was that got taken out. I hope I never hear it, honestly. And he said that writer should be ashamed of himself, honestly. So whoever it was, hopefully they're not working with WWE anymore. But the second story, I believe, because I see Twitter, it was hard to see really what was the final straw because it seemed like there was a lot of stuff. But basically on Twitter and everyone saying the second story was the final straw, or basically the promo where he gets the shot in his butt, the rabies shot. Like, I remember everyone watching that and being on Twitter being like, this is terrible. And I think a lot of people knew Dean Ambrose probably hated that, but personally for me, I think a lot of times wrestling fans act like they know exactly what a wrestler in real life wants with his career. Like, I feel like a lot of people are like, they're treating you horrible. You're not in the main event. You're not winning championships. You're being wasted. But I feel like certain wrestlers, not all of them, but certain wrestlers, they're perfectly fine with just doing house shows. They're perfectly fine with not winning the championship, not being in the main event. Guys like R-Truth and such that just get to, tour the world and do fun stuff with, all these like meet and greets and, the Make-A-Wish Foundation and meeting the troops and stuff. I feel like for quite a few wrestlers, that's probably okay with them. Like Apollo Crews, Titus O'Neil, Kalisto and them. They probably realize, hey, I'm not going to be in the main event every 10 seconds, every freaking, week or month. So I think a lot of times fans think that way. And I think a lot of fans are like, oh, this wrestler must be pissed off or just hating it there. And it seemed like a lot of people were right. Because with Ambrose, this podcast, it seems like, yeah, he freaking hated it. Fed up with it. Really crazy to think about because, that's a long time of being in the main event of Ambrose. He was injured, of course, but just doing so well. It's so sad and so frustrating to see someone love something so much and then realize they hated like every minute of it. Or not like every minute of it, but we're very sick of it and tired with it. So it's awful. I hate that. I really do, because I love when wrestlers are having fun and doing exactly what they love. And it's really, really annoying and frustrating seeing how many wrestlers backstage are hating it, how many are trying to get out of their contract and such. It's awful. Moving on, he was out for 9 months, and then they built up his return. And I remember his return was awful. I remember when he finally came back, it was the week before SummerSlam, I think. And he wanted it to be at SummerSlam, and then they were like, okay, yeah, it'll be at SummerSlam. Your return will be at SummerSlam. Even though originally they wanted it to be the week before. And then they ended up just making it the week before anyway. So they went along with their plan the entire time, even though telling him he would return at SummerSlam. So basically the Raw before he comes out, or it was McIntyre and who is Seth Rollins was facing. Maybe it was Ziggler. I don't know. Maybe it was Ziggler. And then Rollins said, if you have, that sociopath, the Scottish psychopath is what they call him. If you have that, then I need a lunatic fringe. And it was a not terrible return because I was happy when he was back. I really was. But yeah, save it for SummerSlam. Why the week before would you just have him come out? Why not make this big thing? Because the match really. It's not like that's taking away from Seth Rollins' spotlight because no one cared about that match to begin with. Let's be honest. I can't remember if it was Seth Rollins versus Ziggler. I think it was. But awful return to WWE, which was wasted, and he was building up in his mind all this great stuff that he could do. He's super passionate about wrestling, which is, really refreshing and great to see. Because he talks about like waking up in the middle of the night and like thinking of a promo line, walking around his house, coming up with promos and stuff. Dude is super passionate about it. And it's so sad seeing that wasted, being handed the script, being told exactly what to do. He even brings up a point like, why is he there if they're just going to tell him exactly what to do, exactly what to say, exactly, all these promos and such. It's awful. And then we bring up the thing where WWE posted the article about him leaving the company. And it's so strange because not even Ambrose knows why they did that. No one knows, even the wrestling fans. The wrestling fans were just as confused as a top WWE superstar, which is just crazy, I think. He has no idea why they did that. Absolutely no idea. He thinks maybe it has something to do with Vince controlling the narrative of his story and company. But that's so, I remember releasing that, and I think I tweeted, that's really interesting because they've never done that before. It's always, we wish the best in their future endeavors. Not Ambrose's contract is going to be expiring soon. And they keep him on TV, which is really weird too, because they're just going to bury him. And that's kind of what they did, which they buried him, but he was also shocked because they didn't. They had him do the Nia Jax thing, which he was perfectly okay with. 2019, he had no problem with wrestling against a girl, and he did that. He took a bump for Nia Jax, and so he was perfectly okay with that. And I was like, that's awesome. But they had him lose to EC3, and then like in 2 minutes, so the fans realized, oh, they're burying him. So it flipped. EC3 is supposed to be the face. They boo him. Dean Ambrose is supposed to be the heel. They cheer him, of course, and then they continue cheering him because fans are not stupid and know exactly what's going on. Hey, you're burying this guy because he hates your company. So it was weird because you would think they'd bury him, but then he even says they were putting me in the main event like a few weeks before WrestleMania, or maybe a month or so before WrestleMania, when they know he's leaving the company. They know he's on the outside and he's going to be gone, and they have him in the main event. That's so weird to me. I just, like, WWE, they are so unexpected. Like, you can't be like, oh, I can see what WWE's going to do, because they're so crazy and stupid. You don't. You really have no idea. They could just do the crazy stuff and we just buy into it. It's really frustrating. And then the final Shield event, he revealed that he was paid when there was the final Shield match, like the 8th time. I don't even know if it was the final time, honestly. But he says the final one, and I think it was in Australia, I guess. I can't remember. But it was the big WWE Network, event they do. The final match, whatever, probably the 8th final match that they promoted. And he was paid $500 for it. $500. He said him and Jericho were talking about that's literally what extras are paid for, or people that come to the venue and don't have anything to do, so they just go home and they're not written into any match, they're not given any promo, they just show up for work and they don't. $500. Dean Ambrose is out there wrestling probably in the main event, and he gets $500, which is just blows my mind. That's so ridiculous and really, really, really strange. But they had a big laugh about it. He doesn't seem bitter about it at all. He said he even talked about he wanted to frame the check because it's just the stupidest thing in the world. And then basically his AEW, when they started talking about AEW, basically the whole narrative of Ambrose, the creative process. That's all. That's really the final straw. What I think why he hates so much. Nothing to do with wrestling or having a match, not being in the spotlight. So maybe that's kind of where it differed with him and CM Punk, I guess. CM Punk, obviously, with the lawsuits, with the staph infection, stuff like that, that focused more on the wrestling. And I think CM Punk was not being in, I don't want to say the spotlight because that makes it sound really egotistical, but being in the main event, having just this throwaway match with Kane. Dean Ambrose seemed like he was perfectly okay with whatever matches they put him in, which I think that's good. I respect that. It seems like the big thing, or really the only thing, is just the creative process. With promos, telling him what to say, writing out scripts. He says how awful the process is to get lines approved and meeting with Vince. It's just a complete waste of time. And he basically says Vince doesn't know what he's talking about a lot of the time. So that seemed like it was really, really on the creative process, and something really, really needs to change. And I'm worried that it's not. I think a wrestler leaving is not going to change anything with Vince. I think this is kind of the same thing with CM Punk, and fast forward how many years it's been, nothing really has changed, I feel like, with the creative process. Now, if AEW really is this big, I think that is what will finally get Vince to change things around here. I think a company actually being a competitor, being like a WCW, and it needs to be a competitor in Vince's eyes. It does not matter if it's a competitor or not. It does not matter if it does incredible ratings every night and is actually stealing fans. People in WWE saying, you know what? No, I'm not watching this anymore. I still don't think that's enough. I think it needs not even I think, the regular fans' eyes. In Vince's eyes, that's where it needs to be. Vince needs to see it, even if it's not a threat. And Vince is just like, oh, it's a threat. That's when I think things will change and things will start getting better. I don't think a wrestler leaving specifically. I think a lot of wrestlers could leave, and Vince is just going to sign more and bring up people from NXT, because there's a lot of talented people in NXT. He has a plethora of wrestlers in NXT and on the indies or wherever that he can sign easily. And it's just going to be this big machine. I think it needs to be something where AEW, you got to step up for us. And I think they will. But I think they will be a competitor, but it just matters. All that matters, I think, to me is if it's in Vince's competitor, that's when change will start. I personally believe that. Even if it's like this crazy, it gets amazing ratings, steals people. If he doesn't think it's a competitor, he won't change anything. And I don't think Dean Ambrose, leaving will do something. Maybe I hope I'm wrong. Honestly, maybe he's like, you know what, Dean Ambrose was right. But CM Punk, I feel like, was the same thing with the creative process probably, and nothing changed out of it. So I don't know. It's tough. Let me know what your thoughts are. I wanted to have my friend Charles on this to talk about. I just feel like it'd be better if we had relaying ideas. I could hear his ideas. I don't like just doing a video by myself because I'm not able to communicate with you guys as well. So leave a comments. Let me know. I'll answer them and whatnot, or even on Twitter. Message me and we can have a much better conversation about it. What do you think has to change? How do you think it will change? Is it AEW becoming a competitor? Do you think Dean Ambrose leaving, Vince will actually get thinking? Because I don't at all. I think only if there's a serious competitor that he believes is a competitor. I know that doesn't really make sense, or how I word it poor. He has to see that it's a competitor to actually change things, I think. Talked a little about AEW. I was hoping they talk a little more. He said he spent $8,000 for his return promo, the Jon Moxley police breaking out of prison promo, which I thought was awesome. Spent $8,000 on that. He's excited to face anyone in AEW. He's mentally geared up. Maybe not as great physically. He said he felt okay, but not great. But mentally, he's ready to go. And they've already booked him for matches. He's going to be in New Japan Pro Wrestling for the United States Championship June 5th, which is crazy because AEW and New Japan don't have a deal going. They don't have a partnership. So that makes it seem like they're probably, I feel like one day going to have a partnership. And then Ring of Honor is just screwed, I think. And then also Jon Moxley will be taking on Joey Janela at that gaming convention that they're promoting in June. I think it's June 29th, which I really think Dean Ambrose versus Joey Janela should be on a much bigger stage. I know it's probably going to be streamed or whatever on whatever gaming thing it is. But that, however their pay-per-view is, that should have been if it was, maybe this is going to be a normal match, and maybe for All Out they'll do a hardcore or something match. But Jon Moxley's going to do so freaking good on the independent scene. And he said he couldn't even talk about a lot of stuff. And he's going to be putting himself in uncomfortable environments and such, trying new different things just to fight, basically. So that's going to be cool. He's going to do crazy stuff, I think. He even talked about doing some movie or something with the guy that made the promo. They were putting together a feature film that he really couldn't talk about. That sounds kind of weird. I don't know why. I guess he really likes acting, but that seems kind of weird. But I'm excited for what he's going to do in wrestling. He has so many opportunities. It's going to be great to see how New Japan plays with him. All Elite Wrestling. That's going to be great. I think it's going to be awesome. And it seems like they have, I think creative-wise, they're going to be really, really good. Because Best Friends, Trent and Chuck Taylor, we've already seen it. They put on Twitter, Chuck Taylor put on Twitter a screenshot of text messages with Cody Rhodes, basically saying, hey, can you add this to my Titantron, video package? And Cody Rhodes is like, yeah, we'll do that. I mean, that's literally seems what the creative is. I feel like if Jon Moxley has an idea to do a promo or whatever, he's literally going to text Cody Rhodes and be like, hey, can I do this? And Cody Rhodes not going to say no. Let's be honest. Even after this, I think it'd be really, really stupid and poor if Cody Rhodes said no to Jon Moxley in anything. I think Jon Moxley could be like, hey, I want to pterodactyl behind me, and I'm going to be walking on a rainbow in this video package. Can you make it happen? Cody Rhodes would be like, yeah, sure, why not? We have $8 million. We have billions of dollars. So, yeah, I think it's going to be awesome what Jon Moxley's doing. This podcast I thought was really interesting and really fun. Sorry, I don't know what this was, a recap, I guess, but also me doing that analysis of it, basically talking about my thoughts. I can't wait for what he's doing. You know, any match I'm excited for is because I want to see this. I want to see a non-WWE, you know, Dean Ambrose, the Jon Moxley that we know and love. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think his AEW stuff will be great. Looks like he'll be feuding with Kenny Omega, which will be awesome. And he's gonna feud with, I think he beat down Jericho. Jericho's gotta do something to retaliate. But it looks like it's gonna be Ambrose or Moxley, I'm sorry, and Omega, and maybe all out, I would think. So that should be a lot of fun. So thanks so much for listening and watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts all down below in the comment section. I would really love to hear, you know, what you think of the podcast. Did you agree with him? Did you disagree with him? How do you think the creative process can change? Do you think it will change? I personally don't. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, have a great day.